So Shelley, I'd love you to keep your mic open as I go through here. And, you know, if something needs a little more clarification, I'd love for your support with that.
Sure.
So one of the things that's really been on my mind is that not just surviving this time or not just surviving a challenge, but how do you actually thrive through the challenge and because of it? And as I know many of you are business owners, you have skill sets that you've already developed that will help you with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I'm also going to be sharing some of my favorite tools to use for creativity, because I am thrilled that we're getting to talk about creativity and business. That's actually what my company was founded on, is this idea of removing the roadblocks for creative people. And for those of you who don't know my company, my name is Amy Wenslow. I have a company called Products to Profits, and we work with physical products from startup all the way to large volume sales. Largest being one product line did $300 million in sales in 3 years on QVC alone. We've done launches that have been like $1.78 million in their first year. One of our clients went from startup to the Inc. 5000 list in the top 20 in 4 years. So what I wanted to really start with here is an agreement with you, okay? My agreement with you is that I will bring you everything I can in the next 45 minutes. I'll take as many questions as possible, and I will stay on pretty much as long as you want to ask questions, because I really, really want to serve people in this time. What I need from you is I need your energy and your participation and your interaction, because normally when I'm in front of a live audience, I feed off of that, right? And I will be as good for you as you are attentive and engaged in this. So the chat window is open. You can put comments there. Shelley, I'm gonna kind of let you be the communicator on that so that I stay really focused. But I want this to be collaborative. We are co-creating something today in the very best of energy of what creativity is. Cool? Does that make sense? Huh?
Perfect. One thing I want to throw out, if people have questions, just put it in the chat and then I can unmute you, okay? Because right now everybody's muted. Perfect. So just on chat, say, I have a question, and I will unmute you.
Yeah, and I tend to move when I speak. Right, so even on this, I'm like standing up because we have some magic that I want to transmit to you. And it really isn't important, the technology of how that's happening. What's really important is what you do with it out of it this time, okay? So I really wanted to bring this up, that everything in our environment is created by somebody. Most of the things that you touch or that you're using, like, you know, we've got cell phones and we've got, you know, microphones and all this stuff. This was created by entrepreneurs, by businesses, by inventors, by teams that collaborated with each other. So this process that you're in inside the MBA class is really important once you graduate. I know most of you are graduating in about a month, right? So the moment that you go forward is really important, and that doesn't change whether you're a student or you're a business owner, right? Is the how do you make the next steps? It's really, really critical. And I think that it's possible to thrive through challenges. I mean, hello, Ford Motor Company created during a massive, massive economic downturn, right? So many companies, if you look, all started out of a crisis, all started in a recession or a depression, or somebody needing to solve a problem. Because one of the things that I think is very easy to lose sight of right now is that while this is an extraordinary time in our history and in our cultures, this isn't new, right? The idea of having a challenge and having problems that you have to overcome is the nature of being in business and the nature of growth and expansion. Growth and expansion happens, and then there's going to be a challenge. There is the things that get you to this level in business aren't the ones that get you to this level in business, and they're not the ones that grow you past that. It's a continual evolution, right? So what I would say to all of us, myself included, is that the skills and strengths that you already have are your bedrock. They are the thing to build on, right? And I actually just teared up when I said that, because it's been so easy recently to kind of think like, what the heck just happened, right? Like, we've all gone through this time of everything looks different. And what I know is that the dream that is in your heart, the thing that you are meant to build or be involved in, doesn't go away because of that. It might look different in the middle, but it doesn't go away, okay? So let's take a moment here. And great, this isn't gonna advance. See, rolling with the challenge. There we go. So one of the main things that we all have to do is, you know, this is one of my guiding principles, is learning to master myself, my thinking, my language. So I want to give a couple things here at the beginning that are really about how you navigate right now that actually translate to the next thing. For anyone who was around Y2K, you know, back when we were turning to the year 2000, I was reflecting on what's going on with the coronavirus and the COVID situation and this entire moment that we've been in. And there are elements that feel very similar to the Y2K things, and I'll come back to that in a second. But what I really think is important to keep track of is what are the words and phrases that you're using right now that are either escalating your emotions or de-escalating your emotions. I caught myself buying into this, everyone is shut down. You know, what were the other words? Shelley, I'm sure you heard some. Everyone is shut down. All the businesses are closing. Lockdown, crisis, like all of that said with a lot of emotion behind it actually led to more paralysis for me. So the words that I actually eliminated in my language are things like crisis. I mentioned it in the title of this and in some of our social posts recently, because I know that's the way there's a lot of people thinking, but I don't think as a business owner that being in words like crisis and lockdown and all of that is helping anybody. And this absolute kind of language of everyone is this or all of us are that isn't helping us either, okay? So what I actually did is I created a mental list for myself of all the phrases that were more paralyzing than helpful. And we just flipped them. We just went like, okay, that's not how we're gonna talk about it. That's not where we stand. And what I would also say is that while there's economic things going on in our cultures, right? And in our different states are having different experiences and different cities are having different experiences. What matters most is the economy you decide to have for yourself, period. That's the first thing. We decided inside our company to, number one, not wait for a federal assistance package, not wait around for someone else to bail us out. And I think that is key to how quickly people come out of this, okay? Now, I work a lot with products that have been on Shark Tank, and our clients sell to over 43 different major retailers. We have things that, like I said, have gone on the Inc. 5000 list really high in 4 years. Amazon Small Business of the Year has been a client of ours. And standing in a place of mastery over yourself and your language and your thinking is critical to being able to achieve and also to be creative, right? It's very hard to be creative and employ the techniques that Shelley has shared through the different classes that you've been in about being creative if you're in paralysis. So one of the first things in our world is to always learn to master ourselves, our language, and our thinking, right? Because it frees up your ability to be creative. Okay. So, So challenges in business. I love that really what's going on is just kind of a macro version of challenges in business that you probably have already had if you're in business, or that businesses that you are going to be involved in will come across. Challenges in business can be a production issue, a sales slump, investors not investing, your marketing message not working, but the challenges aren't bad, right? Like, I don't know, challenges are how you build muscles. At the gym, you have to have challenge in what you're doing or you're not going to get results, right? So why is it that at the gym we think a challenge is good, but in business, there's a lot of people who think a challenge is bad, right? I happen to think that challenges spur creativity, that challenges are kind of like putting up some guardrails on the side of a freeway that channels your thinking so you can get clear about what you need to act on. Yeah? Shelley, does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, if you look at some of the great ideas that have been developed over the years, they probably were based on, how many times does Edison have to have failures before he comes up with something unique? Tesla right now, I mean, they have been challenged and challenged and challenged, but they keep pushing through for new creative opportunities and new technology. And I
Exactly.
say there's probably going to be a lot more that's going to evolve after this situation.
Yeah, and this idea of the language, right? This is something I'm really passionate about, because if you were to listen to a lot of news media or a lot of political rhetoric about this current time that we're in, you would think that everything is tanking, right? I am here to tell you, though, I know one Shopify store that did $699,000 in the first 5 days of April. 5 days. Their business was off the chart, right? For every time that you're in, there's always a opportunity inside disruption. And I think that one of the big things that gets lost is when we're in this absolute kind of language, is exactly that there is opportunity inside everything. It's a matter of being resourceful enough and creative enough and persistent enough to pick your butt up off the floor if you got knocked there and keep going and find a way. I was in a conversation with Sarah Blakely was talking this morning, and she's the founder of Thanks. And she was saying some of the same things that we've been telling our clients. We have clients right now that have picked up since the shutdown or the stay at home, right? Since the stay at home, and every trade show that they were going to go to, they all canceled. I had speaking engagements, not just this one, but others lined up for national trade shows that in the space of 5 days canceled. 5 days, it went from this to that, right? But what we were able to do is pivot. And that's what a challenge in business does, is allows you to pivot to see something new. There are a lot of businesses that lagged on getting online, and now they're coming in. We have clients, like I said, this one has picked up, no joke, 5 large distributor orders. We got the word this week that it looks like they're going to ink and be final, right? 5 distributor orders during this with distributors they didn't know before. That's amazing. And it cost them a total of about $100 to do, and a bunch of effort and a bunch of time, right? So challenges aren't bad. They're how you build muscle. And the strength, I think, comes from being able to remember the challenges that you've had before and how you came through them. So I mentioned Y2K, the accumulating things, right? Or stockpiling of something, all of that was very similar. So we have nuances to this, but it's not a completely new moment in time for us, right? So welcome your challenges. They are not bad. They're actually a way to build muscle. So I wanted to talk about how do you build the muscle, right? And Shelley, you very graciously shared this image with me. I loved this.
Oh,
Such a good example of directional vision, right? So I look at directional vision like the overall arching direction that you want to go in a time frame, right? My company, we normally plan in about 12-week segments. We don't like a whole year because a year is too long, it loses urgency. And we find that 12 weeks is about right for us. But our cycle finished. And so that was around April 10th. And we said, okay, instead of staying stuck with how we've always done it, what do we need to do now? And we said, the most we can really see right now reliably is about 8 weeks, right? So this is an example for anybody who's not in the MBA course and you're seeing this for the first time. Alfred University, which is the very gracious university that's allowing all of us to be together like this, has they've been given the right to do the business analytics and data analytics program. And this is a future news article. I don't know if you can see this, but if you look at that date line, it's May 30th, 2023. So this is a future casting of how they want to be known for this program. Am I understanding that correctly, Shelley?
correct.
Right. So a directional vision is the thing out there in the future with a time frame on it, right? So for my company and for several of our clients, we're like, okay, well, what's the direction we want to be 8 weeks from now, 6 months from now? The feeling right now in most of the business circles that we travel in is we are going to probably be in a 6 to 9 month cycle with all of this by the time all the recovery is done. So, great example of a directional vision was Starbucks. I'm very fortunate in that I've gotten to study with one of the leaders of Starbucks who was involved in their corporate culture when they wanted to grow from $65 million to $1 billion, and they wanted to do it in 3 years. What? But what they focused on was their culture, the vision of it, what do they need to do? And they used that very short time frame to really create a lot of velocity forward. All right. And they did it primarily through their culture and through changing some of their strategy and getting really creative. Okay. So here are some of the techniques for all of us that Shelley shared with me that you've been using. Mind mapping. I love mind mapping. I don't know if you can see, we've got a small whiteboard there, another one there, there's another one around the corner. I love mind mapping. I've used several different softwares. It's fabulous for getting free association for creatives out. Forced association and words association is really helpful, particularly when you go into brand or into how do you want to be differentiated. And I know that that's one of the challenges that's coming up for the final project. So for someone who already has a product like our client Jeff that's listening in here, forced association is, you can also think of it a little bit like the completion of an article or a storytelling, right? Like say you go, Guardian Athletics was da 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 da. And you kind of leave a blank, almost like a Mad Lib from when you're a kid, right? And so forced association can be really good for brand. It can also influence your social media posts. There's a lot of ways you can use that in marketing. Personality tests. I wanted to mention not just Myers-Briggs, but there's a really interesting piece of research that's come out about time to talk in meetings. Many times when you have a problem that you're solving and you're trying to like crowdsource it from your team and you get everybody in a room, right? You're like, oh, everybody, let's come on in. We're all gonna have a meeting. Yeah? Okay, raise your hand if you've ever been in one of those meetings. I can see your video. Right? Get everybody in a room. We're gonna talk about this problem we're having. Jeff, I know you've done this. Right? Well, what happens is sometimes the exact person that has the answer is not the one who's in power and leading the meeting, right? It's the quiet person who never feels like they have permission to talk, right? I have to watch myself because I'm very verbal, and I get really excited. I'm really passionate. I have a lot of drive and a lot of energy. And my husband laughs because literally I can meet someone in a grocery store line, right? Very social, extroverted, all of that. But what can happen is someone like me can steamroll quieter people in a meeting, right? So timed talking, that is where you throw out the problem, and then everybody in the room gets 7 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or gets called on. Like if they're not speaking, you say, hey, I'm really curious about what Janelle is saying, right? Or what are you thinking about that problem? Hey, what do you see about this? And it gives you more of a 360-degree view on a solution. Cool? Not if you like that idea.
Hey, Amy,
yeah.
Just real quick. I think that going back, that mind mapping is a great way with a group to get the quieter folks to participate and not feel, like I better not say anything. But if we did a software, everybody can jump on and participate. Yeah. So just a thought.
Yeah, that gets it out there. And so if you're virtual, that's really good. If you're in a group, that's really good. I have another technique that wasn't
awesome.
On your list that I'm going to actually share
Great.
On my next slide. That is a really good way for getting your brain organized very quickly. I mean, like 15 minutes or under. It's spectacular for a project. So personality strengths, that's a really important one to pay attention to, because your more dominant personalities or your more energetic and outgoing ones can steamroll your introverts who actually have a lot of input if they're asked. So I really want to point that out. Looking at how other companies spur creativity, that would be, I know you guys have looked at Pixar, you've looked at Tesla. So sometimes that will help you springboard to what your creative process or solution might be. I like the creative and convergent and divergent thinking, brainstorming, Post-it notes. That is my Post-it note technique. I thought it was on my next slide, but no. Post-it note technique is massive, and I'll show you a real quick way to do it. So everybody's seen Post-it notes, right? Okay. So you take your Post-it notes and you write one idea per Post-it note, or one consideration per Post-it note, or one trait of your audience, right? Because I know your final project is how do you differentiate and start to promote the new data and business analytics programs, right? So I would invite you to look at Post-it notes as one of your most massive, quickest, easiest, most fluid ways of brainstorming, right? Because sometimes with brainstorming, we get like, oh, it should be over here, but I need to put it over there, right? While with Post-it notes, you just like flip them around real fast. So related to Post-it notes, here is what some of my desk looks like. Okay, these are actual items from my desk from about an hour and a half ago. Okay, I find that when we are brainstorming, I have to toss a ball in the air. I have to use my slinky, right? Like a little slinky like this, right? Why would I do that? Anybody have an idea? Why would I be doing this while I'm brainstorming something? Think about it. Put it in the chat. Shelly, tell me a few of them.
Everyone's quiet. Here we go. Oh, we're getting a bunch now.
Yeah.
Get your mind moving. Get your mind moving. Get your hands busy. Wakes your body up. To get your mind your mind off the actual topic. It could potentially take your mind off the overthinking. There's a mind-body connection. Multitasking to get your mind working. It's like the same thing as tapping your pen or pencil when you think.
Yeah, tinkering with things, right? Now, this is something that's really important, okay? So if you just seriously, write this down. It is ridiculous level of gold for anything marketing, anything creative. Okay, you ready? Nod if you're ready, because I can see you. Nod. Yeah. There are 3 ways that people think and take in information. Okay. So it's learning styles, however you want to say it, but there's 3 ways that they take in information. And you can activate a message and communicate through any of the 3. But if you don't include all 3 of them in your marketing message or in your processes, you will lose people. Period. End of story. They will not hear what you're communicating. Okay, so you want to know what the 3 are? Nod, anybody, somebody. You want to know what they are? Okay, visual, kinesthetic, and auditory. Okay, so visual people right now, you're watching my video, right? Your visual people tend to pick up on like the energy, the clues that I'm giving, like they see the background here, all of that, right? So even in my background, some of my books are turned around backwards because I don't want it to be too distracting for the visuals, because they'll go down a rabbit hole, right? And I know this because I'm one. They need color. They need to be able to, like, I am a massive lover of color. I have every color marker you can possibly have, every form, every size. I use them all the time, right? So tinkering with things, which one would that be? So you have visual, kinesthetic, which is the doing of things, and you have auditory, which is hearing, right? So when you're sitting and if you were just listening to me, right, that's auditory. What's really interesting is that actually the research about auditory is that if you read words on a page, it actually is firing your visual learners, right?
I have 2 answers for you. 2 people said kinesthetic.
Bingo, bingo, ding, 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 ding. Okay. So Scrum is an interesting technique, right? Movement, I'm going to go back to movement right now. So this is a movement activity for the kinesthetic part of me, because most people have a primary way they take in information and they have a secondary. I'm a visual kinesthetic learner. That means I have to do something with information. If you were to look at, I'll show you my day planner really quickly because it'll make more sense. My day planner is printed out. It's got color on it. It's like, you know, I have to use colors because of the visual part. So visual kinesthetic is mine. You could be a kinesthetic auditory, right? So if you know that about you, if you're a movement-based person or your energy is kind of stuck or your creativity is stuck, get up and move around. Go jump on a trampoline, jump on the bed if you don't have a trampoline, you know, do something, and it will actually stimulate your blood flow, which also stimulates oxygen, which also frees up your creativity to make the synaptic connections required for brainstorming, required for mind mapping, all of those pieces. Is that cool? Okay. There's one on here that is a really, really cool thing. It's one of my favorite creative techniques. We use it all the time with our clients for their business strategy, and I hardly ever talk about it. So that one about the future visualization, I'll give you my inside scoop on it if you want. You want that? Okay, so Scrum, we're going to talk about Scrum first here. Scrum is used a lot with software development. It's a way to, it's kind of like the Post-it note technique, a little more formalized, and involves voting on the different ideas. I'd really recommend you Google specific examples of that. Google actually uses Scrum a lot. Most of the technology companies do. So if you're going to work in a tech company, you are almost certainly going to encounter Scrum as a technique. Most companies outside of tech don't really use it, but there's some good things you can apply there. but I want to make sure to pay attention to time. So future visualization. This is awesome for problem solving. So you got to bear with me. What you do here is you sit quietly, maybe say a few words to yourself. Think about the issue that you're trying to solve or where you're trying to get to, what it feels like to be in that future moment. And we did this with our 8-week plan. And I'm actually going to be revisiting it because it's so important right now to stay fluid and don't get attached to anything. Okay. So with the future visualization, you get clear about what it is that you want to have show up in the future. Okay. This is going to sound a little crazy in this next part, but it's completely possible. I can't believe I'm telling you this. Okay, so here is the behind the scenes of this. You get very clear on what you want in the future, and then I get quiet and feel into it. Again, because I'm a kinesthetic, I will actually get like a pull in my chest towards an idea or something like that. I get a body sensation, part of my intuition, but I feel into that. And then I actually visualize that it's already happened. And then I turn around and I look back and I ask myself how we got there. And then we just write down the steps, because literally it's the future piece already happened that's informing the process. That is actually very high creativity to do something like that. It's unusual. I totally get it. But you know what? We've done some stuff that's been pretty successful. You've seen some of our projects on Shark Tank. You've bought some of our projects. If you are a non-dairy creamer person or a dairy-free creamer person and you've seen nut pods, you've seen the result of an exercise I just gave you, okay? So while it might sound different, it's another way to come at a problem, another way to come at a result that you want. It doesn't even have to be a problem. It can be, who do you want to be in the future? What kind of job do you want to have, right? So those are a few. Is that good? Okay. So one of the big things about differentiation that I wanted to mention here is that differentiation has two components to it. There's actual differences and there's perceived differences. Human beings buy based on feeling and they justify it with logic, okay? So the actual types of differentiation can be the deliverables, the way something's getting delivered, or what they're getting, right? Like we have some clients that do an all-day strategy day with us about their business. And most of them think that normally that has to be in the office, but they don't even know that we deliver those over a video conference. And the first one I ever did was over a video conference with somebody that to this day, over 10 years later, I have never met that person face to face, right? So the way we deliver was part of an actual difference. Cost, location, because I know that, you know, a university, it's harder for you to move your location unless you go virtual, right? The network that is involved, the connections that a student would get out of your program that they won't get out of somebody else's. That's a differentiator that's actually real, right? So the perceived are something called value proposition. Perceived differences are directly related to value proposition. You've got the perceptions and then there's these actual things underlying it, okay? And you can differentiate on both of those and pull yourself apart from the pack on any of them. Okay? How do you decide which ones are the important ones? You actually have to think like your market, right? Like think like your person. So we'll actually do that same sort of future casting that I mentioned with a market. We'll go, okay, well, what does a soccer mom feel like? Right? What are her concerns? What does she feel like? And we don't do it from the head. We do it from literally like, what is her emotional state when we're marketing or selling something to her or talking to her about something, right? So everything has an audience. It has a market, including your resume that you may be about to send to somebody. Your resume has an audience, right? So I wanted to mention that because I know a bunch of you are graduating and you might want to have jobs. Just saying, you might want to get jobs, right? At some point, you might, if you think about what's the emotional state of the person that you're sending your resume to, you will write your resume differently. You'll write your cover letter differently. Yeah? Okay, so there's different elements that'll get used to deliver the message, right? There's visual, there's sound, there's touch that goes to our visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And different people hear the message differently. Okay? This is something that we say to clients a lot when we're looking at packaging. So I wanted to show you a package sample. So this is how a package sample gets progressed. And this is directly related to a university too, because the packaging of a university is the experience of the university, right? So when you're looking to differentiate, it's based on color, feel, location, all those things like we talked about, but it's also on how you're communicating. You know, do you have online classes or not? At this point, everybody does, right? But how are yours delivered? Are they collaborative? Are they webinars? Are they interactive? Or are they online learning? It makes a difference. So this is a client of ours. The product is called the back strap, and it's a strap that has these physio balls that go in it. This was developed by a physical therapist, and believe it or not, it releases tension in over 200 muscles at home for about 80 bucks. It's fabulous. If you can't get out to a physical therapist or a massage therapist, this is a really good thing. So we actually redid this complete package and new photo shoot, new colors, new logo, all of that to modernize it and to professionalize it. So it's really important. This is the front when it's actually packaged, right? So we're talking about over here on the, I don't think my cursor will work, but over on the right, those blue lines talk about the benefits. Those are the tangible things about it and what it does. That's what you need to do with your programs too, okay? So Shelly, is this a good section of conversation to have?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a little behind the scenes, okay? We have clients that, one in particular, could not sell their product for more than about $3 over cost because of their packaging. And I have an example coming up, and I'll show you the dramatic difference that how you present something makes, the how you're doing it, the how you package, how you talk in your messaging transmits an energy, and it either brings people along with you or it pushes them away, okay? So this is the back of the package, right? You can see, and then this is the quick start guide. Even calling something an instruction booklet versus a quick start guide. Naming of something matters, right? And then we actually did, this is the physical therapist over here on the left, and we did all of this writing and press releases and all the layout of all the graphics. So this is the one where I said they were having a problem selling it for much over cost of the product, right? The upper left corner is the original package. The one you're seeing on the screen next to it that looks so solid and, you know, different size and all of that, that is the package that we redid with new branding, new product layout. The difference in those took the product from being a $12.95 retail to $19.95 retail. That is a massive, massive difference in profit margin, right? So when you're thinking about your packaging or how you're talking or the design aesthetics of something and how you differentiate, getting your visuals correct makes a very, very big difference. So then this is our line extension. This is kind of like analogous to the business analytics course, and the line extension would be the data analytics course, right? Like they're kind of related, but not identical. They're sort of in the same frame. So loop rope, which is a bungee cord tie down item, those little carabiners in the middle that were getting lost in the previous package, well, those carabiners hold 250 pounds a piece. They're solid stainless steel. They're amazing. So we took loop rope and we put it over in the boating market, and it became buoy rope, right? For buoy rope, we actually didn't do this big blister kind of package. We kept it in its poly bag, but we put a new header on it. Why would we do that? Why did we not upgrade buoy rope's package too? Does anybody want to guess? Type it in the chat. What do you think? Why would we have held off doing that change? Shelley, we got any guesses?
I don't know. No one's being brave. I'm going to take a little guess. It is a different customer. They're going to have a different perspective on that product. That's going to be my guess. Oh, wait, we got to check chat.
Yeah.
Because the connection to boating is what is important here. Another person, another person said money, so maybe cost.
You're all kind of getting close. So here's why. Because the market for boaters doesn't demand the upgrade for us to sell it, right? What's really kind of intriguing is loop rope has 2 of the carabiners in it. Buoy rope only has 1, right? So it's a lower cost of goods because of that. And it actually sells for $34.95 instead of $19.95. So it's a lower cost of goods with a higher price because the market is different.
And right? I have to say, there was a student that said image is important for that product.
Absolutely. Now, the problem with the loop rope version and doing the package in this poly bag was that the poly bag ended up looking dirty. The product looked confusing in it. It looked kind of like you're going to take it out, it's going to be a tangled mess, right? Mm-hmm. So it just didn't look good. And then the other thing is on these photos, I'm trying to show you with my, I'm like going, these photos right over here. The photos on the package, it's very hard to see the product in it because it's a tie down item. You don't see it. You see the back of the truck, you see the things that are getting, but you don't see the tie down item. So, you know, we did some things to improve that, including doing computer graphics, and there's a lot of subliminal things going on buoy rope. This is a really fun one that most people don't pick up on consciously, which is why I say it's subliminal. If you look under the word buoy rope, where that yellow line is and those light blue lines, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where we're talking about the benefits, what does that shape look like? It's a boat. The yellow line and then the blue lines kind of angling back, it's the profile of a boat. That was at first kind of unintentional. Like we were working with our graphics team on it, and I'm like working with Chris, and we're doing the new logos and all the stuff, and then we're like sketched out the header, and we're doing all these things, right? And then I've got these bullet point statements that we wanted to use on the front, and I went, hey, you know what, if we just move this one up because they were out of order for length, if we just do this, hey, let's add a little bubble because we wanted to make the 3-in-1 bigger, right? That, oh, sorry, 2-in-1. We wanted to make that 2-in-1 text in that yellow line, that first little thing. We wanted to make it a little bigger so it really popped out visually. Yeah, okay, that made it a boat, right? So you don't even pick up on it. Now, the logo here is really important. Loop rope is known for being fast, secure, and easy. Matter of fact, that's its tagline, right? Secure, fast, easy. So we knew we wanted to sell it in the automotive market. We knew we wanted to sell it in hardware and camping and outdoor stores. So on the loop rope, this black and gold color combination, that is the same as Caterpillar tool, right? It's a very, very hardware visual kind of color scheme, right? The chroming of the logo and doing the logo completely differently is related to the automotive market. And it gives speed when we angle the italics, right? That angle, sorry, you might be seeing me reverse. The angle of italics actually communicates speed. And then we have these cutaway lines through the logo for kind of like, almost like those trailing lights, like if something's moving really fast, right? So logos can communicate the marketing message as much as the words, right? The colors that you're choosing, this sort of ripped effect on the top of the blister, that's actually for the camping world, right? Like the ruggedness of it. And there's kind of like this immediacy to it, like, and then we just go, right? It's because we're talking to dudes. The main market of this is dudes, right? So they're all about get it done, be the hero, like that, right? And we wanted to give them the tool for that. So what people find very surprising is these two packages are almost identical sizes. It's about 14 square inches difference in size. But one feels very trustable and solid, and the other one feels kind of like a hot mess, right? So I wanted to show this because when you think about differentiation and how do you come across differently, if you look in a hardware store for bungee cords, you'll see these canisters of bungee cords that are just like, they're a knotted mess. It's not good. So this one looks solid. It looks trustable, right? So when you think about how to differentiate, it's not just about your words. It's not just about your offer. It's about the entire visual, okay? So let's go to the next thing. So there's a couple things you can do. Anybody, even from the class that wants to talk, if you have a product and we haven't talked to you before, or, you know, you can go to our website and book a discovery conversation. They're about half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes longer. And we give you usually about 3 to 4 action items that you can do with your product from where you are now. We have a live Q&A call-in show that I do, and we also have a podcast. And we'll be dropping new episodes. We have 95 podcast episodes in there right now that are anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour and a half that cover everything related to product, businesses, business in general, and we have some mindset ones we've been dropping in there. So I want to make sure to take questions. I know we're right at about 45 minutes from when I actually started. So do we have some questions? I'm going to go back over here and just go to my video camera. I'm going to stop our screen share. So what have we got going on? I'm going to go over here to our chat window. I loved the notes coming in from people. And I'm going to lock this on my screen so you all can see me. There we go. Okay. So what do you think? What are your questions about differentiation and marketing of your product, your service, and even your project? So I know you've got your final project coming up pretty fast. So let's see. Yeah, we had people saying that the blue color related to water, absolutely. Using color as cues is really important.
There we go.
So instead of starting a business, what's a good way to be a partner in a business without high entry costs? It depends on what your interests are. So ways to start a business without a high entry cost. You can become a partner and do affiliate marketing. You can do joint ventures. You can also become an Amazon affiliate. And those are great ways to get good at marketing. One of the things that I get asked a lot is what skills would I say are the top ones for an entrepreneur, right? Get asked about that. Sales. Sales is one of the most important skills because you're going to have to sell to either investors or to your market or to get team members. You have to actually get them enrolled into your vision. Okay, so sales is super important. I think creativity, that's really, really important. And one thing I didn't share about my background, I did not get an MBA. I actually went to art school. I am originally a painting major. Then I was in a jewelry making program and I taught at the college level. I've lectured around the world. I lecture for national trade shows, FedEx headquarters, the United States Patent and Trademark Office on commercialization. So there were a lot of things that I had to learn because I didn't have the MBA, but I'm an avid student. So that's another thing that I think is a really big strength for anybody, be an avid student. One way that I think Alfred could successfully market the analytics degree, data analytics is a massive topic right now. I am part of a collaborators group that puts on a conference with about 15,000 attendees in 9 days. And there are a lot of tech companies that are collaborators on that. Data analytics is massive to them. And I would think that anybody who has an accounting degree would make a good candidate for a business analytics or data analytics degree. Because the mentality, I would look at what is the profile of somebody who's likely to be interested in data analytics. Now, for example, knowing what you know about my background, do you think that I would want a data analytics course or an MBA in data analytics? Good God, no. Okay. You know, that's just not my brilliance, right? But what I am really good at is understanding the story that data is telling. Right? So I think look at the profile of the consumer called your future student, right? What are they likely to be good at? Let's brainstorm this. Somebody who asks this question, you wanna play? Should we play? Whoever asks this question, if you've got your mic, let's open up your mic. And
okay.
I see it might be from Dominique.
Dominique. Can she unmute?
Hello.
There we go.
Hey, Dominique. Let's think about this for a minute. So nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you're up for playing. Okay. So let's think about somebody. What are the traits of a person who might be interested in data analytics?
Well, they definitely like numbers.
Okay. So they like numbers. What else?
She's looking for Post-its.
I would say they're definitely on the smarter spectrum because I feel like analytics is super complex. Pat said tech savvy. We have some students chiming in here.
Okay.
I would say good with good with computers is tech savvy. Enjoy computers. You want to enjoy computers because you're going to have to be looking at a screen all the time.
Yeah. What are they thinking about their future? Interesting question, huh?
Very interesting.
Why would they want data analytics as a degree? Because these are sort of the things they're good at, but why data analytics?
Yeah, I like how one of the students said they enjoy like solving problems. So they could work in suggesting recommendations to different companies based off what they find.
Right? So they're solution oriented, right? They're able to make creative connections. They also probably want something that they feel is going to be an expanding area of expertise.
Definitely.
Because it's a direction that a lot of tech companies value, right? A lot of even retailers right now, a big thing in retail is omni-channel. We work with that. And omni-channel is selling in all channels. Like our clients sell to QVC, they sell to major retailers for in-store and online. So data analytics is really important, right? So it's a capacity that is going to grow. Its use is going to grow, right?
Yes.
So it's a very strong category that probably isn't going away anytime soon. Yeah. So
Yes.
I would say that someone who wants that also wants more safety and security.
See, I wouldn't have even thought of safety and security within the degree until you made all those connections.
Right, but it's not something, safety and security isn't something I would recommend you put in the text. You might say, the way you might communicate it. Now, let's think a little bit more. This is a great question. So how would you communicate that to someone who likes numbers, likes data, is smart, is probably detail-oriented, like someone said in the chat, right? How would you communicate safety and security to them? Research. You would do, you have a chart, right? Have some data about projected growth of it. You know, one of the things with people that really like data is that they will read it all, okay? People like me, I'm a skimmer. Man, I am a skimmer. I'm kind of the classic CEO that way. I want the data to be there for when I want it, but I want to skim through it, and you have to have what's called a scan path for somebody like me. That means you have to have, like on your website, you have to have good headlines with like a short little paragraph right below it, and then maybe a bigger paragraph. For someone who likes data, you got to give them data because they're going to read it, they're going to want to consider it, they're going to want to absorb it, they're going to think more, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Dave, you're right. I see in the chat, David Heyman is talking about the colors and strong fonts. That's what Scan Path does, right? It allows me to quickly pull out little tidbits somebody like me wants. But I'm not your market for this, right?
Yeah.
You probably should be doing some visual charts, right? On your website, some visual charts, some good data behind them, like a study of graduating students, or something about the career center and its success rate, right? Because that's what that market wants. They want to know what the future path is. They want that little bit more safety. Is that cool?
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So you can mute your line for your privacy, or Shelly, if you want, you can. And so let's see. Who else has a question? Shelly, do you have any more of your students that you can see have questions? And then I'll take
yes, there was a question back a little bit. Oh, here's another new message too. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here. Katura has one. Can you see it or not?
I can see it, but I don't know who's a student and who's not, and I want to take care of the students first.
Yep, this is Katura. Do you want to talk?
I want them to talk.
Okay.
Remember, what am I? I'm a visual kinesthetic extrovert. I want them to talk. Dave's laughing because he knows me really well. Dave, by the way, is awesome. He's a clean tech guy. Investment,
she is.
Clean tech, all kinds of things.
She unmuted. There's Katura.
Hi.
Hi. What's your question?
So my question was about, I'll just read what I wrote, but like shortening it in terms of differentiating, because our project is about the data analytics degree and how we would differentiate it from other degrees or other schools that already have that going on. My question was, if we want to include things that other schools are doing, like how do we, obviously we want to make them better. So even if it's not plausible, like would that be a good idea to kind of pitch to like a staff that's trying to differentiate?
So you're saying if there's another school that has the same program and you like something like that they're doing, but you don't have it quite built into your program yet, is it believable for you to say anything about it?
Yeah, and like how would you go about pitching it to, I guess, the board or whoever would, implement those things into the program and like make it 10 times better than what that other school or program is doing?
What a great question. Oh my gosh, what a great question. What you're talking about also, okay, so for anybody who is also pitching to investors, this answer is the same, okay? So let's dissect your question, all right? And how do I say your name again?
You could just call me Kay.
Kay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your audience?
Anyone that's interested in a data analytics degree.
Okay. Now, if you have to pitch to the board or whoever is going to make this decision, it could be Dean Lewis, right? He might be the one to influence that. All right. Who's your audience when you make that recommendation?
The dean, or that example.
Bingo, bingo, bingo! Ding, 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 ding! Give Kay a prize. Okay. He's your audience. He's your market at that moment. So how do you make the case to that audience about your recommendation?
Okay.
You have to get in his world about what his concerns and priorities are. This is the same way that we did some work. One of the companies I worked for, we were pitching to Walmart. Walmart does things called planogram resets, and they're big annual meetings. And they were resetting their craft section. And I mention this because it really applies, so stay with me here. So Walmart was evaluating new products and what they should do with about 650 items in 16-foot section of store, right? And so my company was responsible for making recommendations on behalf of one manufacturer. So we did the whole planogram reset and we pitched it to Walmart, okay? Walmart took 25% of our recommendations, which, well, it changed over 25% of the set. They did that because there was a sound business reason for them to do it, right? Now, we didn't just look at the existing product that we were actually supposed to be working on. We looked at the whole section, right? Because we went, okay, let's get in Walmart's universe, like how their brain is thinking, how the buyer is thinking, so that we can make the buyer into a hero. That's always the goal, make the buyer into the hero. So the recommendation that you make to Dean Lewis or the board or whoever's going to do that has to make them into a hero, right? If you make them into the hero, they go like, oh, cool, I can look like I got my stuff together and I'm going to look amazing, right? So when we were pitching to the Walmart buyer, we were about how do we make the buyer into a hero? Well, we eliminated duplication in their set. We streamlined it. We looked at, was everything on trend? Was it up to speed? Was it modern and up to date? And we went, okay, here's how you need to redo this section. And it's not just Walmart. We've done that with Home Depot. We've done that with Lowe's. It's the same thing that you're doing right now. So your offering of your courses needs to be up to speed with what everybody else is doing, right? It needs to feel like it's up to speed, right? It needs to feel modern and progressive and forward-facing. Does that make sense? I'm on my soapbox because I'm passionate about this. But that sense of, is it on track, right? And that is what gets you students in the future.
Right. And so going with that as well, would you say, I guess, you kind of break it into stages. So stage one is kind of your idea, your creativity, or your group or whatever for whatever you're looking at. And then stage two is capturing that first audience with who you're pitching to. So in this example, it was Dean Lewis or a dean of some program that would have weight over what you would implement. And then stage, I think we were on 3 or something like that, would be like marketing, how would you market it out there? And then stage 4 or 5 would be like how it would look to the potential students or incoming users
I wouldn't
or buyers.
call it stages so much as like areas. Because I think you have to handle a bunch of these, what you were calling stages, at the same time, right?
Okay.
because you have to handle enough of the things about the physical offering and the way that product is being delivered, called the course, right? You have to handle enough about that to be able to write a authentic, true, ethical marketing message that is the most powerful for the market that you want to attract.
Gotcha.
Okay? Because if you don't have those pieces that you want to add in the program dialed in yet, you have to be very careful about making the commitment to them being there, right? Because you don't want a really high dropout rate. You want to attract people that are going to complete things, right? So I might actually put something in the marketing language about that. This is a program for people who want to complete things with a process and a method and a structure to it that is going to serve them for the next 10, 20 years in an expanding market. Like, that's like a good piece of text, right?
Right, yeah.
So I would think kind of along those lines in the marketing language. And then at the same time, you have to make the case for the board or the dean or whoever's in control of the program to make the changes that you see based on your market research of other programs. Like, you have to justify those changes to them, but you have to do it from what is his concern? So what's the university's concern with this program? What do they want?
Yeah.
It goes back to that newspaper clipping, the future cast of it, right? So how do they get there? They can't get there using the old ways. Not going to happen. They have to become leaders in it. But
Yeah.
so what is the downside of leadership?
I don't know. I wasn't aware there was a downside.
There is a massive downside to leadership. I can see a few smiles from people that have led their markets and things, because I'm very well aware of their businesses. The leaders get arrows in their back.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if you want to cause change with a leader and you can lower their risk, right? Make it safer, you'll do better with the leader.
So you want to be like, you don't want to be too futuristic, but futuristic enough where it's believable and no one thinks they're going to stick their neck out there and completely get, like no reward for.
Well, there has to be an upside or leaders won't do it. Like true leaders. If there's no upside, like investor groups, they won't do it if they don't see that there's a market and they don't see that you have a good team. And but when you're talking to an investor group, kind of analogous to the board here, when you're talking to an investor group, their improvement of their risk, right, lowering risk for them means having a good team. Because I was speaking on an investor panel and we were talking about that, and someone asked us a question: which would you rather have, a good idea with a great team or a great idea with a solopreneur? And before the person could even finish the question, all of us on this panel, including like an SEC commissioner, everybody said a good product with a great team. And they asked us why, and we said because a great team can make a good product workable, can make a good product better, right? So I would recommend in whatever this program is that, however you're pitching it, however you're doing your project, to highlight the value of your team, called the value of your faculty, the projects that they've worked on, and use that to create the street credibility since your program's really new. Does that make sense, Kay?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because it's like if your faculty is totally badass, oh, sorry, that's the really technical language, okay? If you're like really amazing at what they do, students go like, oh, that's the team I want to study under, or that's the team I want to learn from. And by the way, usually faculty or like, we know a lot of people that other people don't know because of the value that we play at, the level we play at, right? That attracts more opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So you can mute your microphone and your privacy. Does anybody else have a question? Sorry, I had to play with my slinky. I'm going to scroll through and see the rest of the video windows here. And I'm happy to stay on and answer questions as long as people want to, or, you know, another half hour or so. That would be good. So that's our time limit today. Oh, and I see we have a bunch of people that have called in or don't have video cameras on. Hi to all of you. So I'm curious, anybody who's not a student, who's a business owner, what have you heard out of this? Because I think it's really important for the students in this program around creativity and business and marketing to hear how you think about some of this, or your questions about it for your business, because it helps them understand how a business owner thinks, right? And that's not something they can get from a textbook or from watching a passive video. They need to see your questions. So I know we have a bunch of you on here because I know you. How do you view this for your business, and what are your questions about how to apply this for your business? Because that helps them in their future. So I'm going to call it out for all of you to make a difference for these students too. So awesome. So Kay, you're absolutely welcome. I see in the chat window you've got a jump for your data analytics class, which is perfect. Wow, we've got a lot of people.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of MBA students that have to leave at 7:30 for their analytics class. So
awesome. Well, we'll stay on until half past then, so that's 7:30. But I'm curious to hear how a few of the people that I know on this call think about this. So Jeff Chambers, I see, a good leader surrounds themselves with a good team or they will not be successful. Absolutely. Absolutely. And hey, oh, yep, I'm seeing Justin Mosley and Scott giving some love. That's awesome. I'm curious to hear how some seasoned business owners think about this. So Dave Heyman, can I put you on the spot and open up your mic?
Yes. Let's see. I just love the idea of like how, you know, you're putting everything in a packaged deal. So it's like you go through all these phases, which could be like, how long is a campaign for like the loop rope, which I have one of those. How long was that campaign from like the time the customer came to you and you know, that it was actually on the shelves in its perfected form?
Time frames range drastically. We have one project that we did, not loop rope, that was 250 items start to finish in 7 months, which is like blazingly fast. Multiple trips to Asia to take care of it. And that was from idea and brainstorm and a SWOT analysis of what was going on in the craft market at the time, all the way to finished product at a trade show being sold. 250 items, they sold for about $4 a piece. Retail, they were selling for about $2 a unit individually. Michael's Craft Stores bought 122 out of the 250 styles, which is just a huge sell-through rate on new things straight out of the gate. And then we actually reconfigured those products, and the ones that Michael's didn't buy, we actually sold to Joann's, AC Moore. We did not sell to Hobby Lobby because we didn't want to. But that product line did $2.5 million its first year at Michael's on 122 SKUs at $4 a piece.
Wow.
Loop Rope was about a 10-month project. We did a lot of work on their pricing, the value proposition, obviously on the visuals, the marketing language, the tagline. We wrote the instructions, we did a lot of that. So 10 months, start to finish, and they were selling out on QVC. They went from 1 store to 1,400 stores in 14 months. It's kind of nice.
Well, congratulations. It's a great product too.
It's awesome. I feel like we're doing calf roping when we get the Christmas tree on the top of the Jeep. We have a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and loop rope is so fast. to use. Like literally, we've got the tree up there and it lashed down and we're driving out and other people are still entangling their rope. But
now you should those guys make a tent.
Yeah.
Tents are ridiculous nowadays. They're so complicated.
Yeah. So Dave, I'm gonna just ask you, I know that you've done a lot of deal assessment for different investments from different groups and things. So I want to know how you think about differentiation. You know, if somebody comes to you with a business and you see that they're just another Me Too product or a Me Too business model, how do you view it, and what are your some of your thoughts about it?
Well, you know, like in my world of venture capital, it's like mostly like it's usually like the latest, greatest, hottest, coolest, fastest, cheapest, smartest, you know, baddest that's out there already. Otherwise,
Right.
it wouldn't even be a look at it, you know. So like what you were saying about the data analytics course, really, if you're going to put so much effort into marketing something, you have to really make it like, wow, outstanding to get people's attention. So I guess, you know, I don't even like look at stuff unless it's like really passes those tests for me, you know. So I don't really see very much stuff that it doesn't catch my attention unless it's like really pretty awesome, you know. So
Right. Okay. So for everybody, Dave and I did not rehearse. We haven't talked in a couple of months, right? It's really important. What you just said was directly to the value of differentiation and powerful communication in all forms of whatever it is you're doing. Because if you can't differentiate and you're going to be a Me Too and you want investor money, it's really hard. Really hard.
Yeah, and then you want to be amongst the best anyway.
Yeah. So there's a question here from Jeff Chambers. What are the tests that Dave looks at? I don't think there's any official tests, but what would you say to that? Yeah, when you're looking at a deal, how do you analyze it?
Well, it's got to be something like really cutting edge, you know, like really outstanding, because I know like if it's going to catch, you have to think like if you're attracting investors, they're taking a bet that you are going to be able to achieve, you know, hopefully better than your projections. It's just gambling, you know, right? And you've got to be pretty convincing. And so if you don't have something like pretty special, then for investors especially, you know, there's like infinite places for money to go, you know, a vacation home, a stock, you know, like, you know, some well-established company, or your great new idea. So if it's not something pretty amazing, they'll just find something else to do. And so it's very important to be, you know, the best. I would think as best as you can be, just go for it and just make it happen.
Yeah. So thank you. I love that. I know we've got a question here from, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say who it's from, but I think it might be from one of the students based on what they're asking. Do you think using our school slogan, quote, outside the ordinary, as a wow marketing factor to pull in Gen Z students? Gen Z and young students right now are very into experiential things, right? So you might actually, you know, you have a tagline or a slogan, right? Outside the ordinary, but what's everything else that's around it? How are they getting an experience in the marketing, right? Okay, this is a really, really good thing. So I'm gonna share this for everybody who's hung in here, right? Everybody lean in, come on, lean in. I can see you, lean in. Okay, I love it. We have people that play. Okay, here we go. Everybody lean in, all right? And if you're on the phone, just pretend. If you want to understand marketing language and how to create experiential messages The next time you hear a car commercial, I want you to close your eyes and listen to the word choice. Listen to the sound of a car commercial, right? The Cadillac commercial that's out right now, where they're, you know, talking about experiential things, you hear the sound of water splashing as they drive through. They've gotten really iconic innovators in there. Why are they doing that? Why is that campaign for Cadillac so important? It's because they are perceived as an older person's car, right? And they're trying to appeal a luxury product to a younger demographic, so their demographic doesn't age out, right? Like if they're an older person's product or older person's car, their market is going to die. You know, like it's just going to happen. They have to bring in innovation in terms of who they're appealing to. So if you want to understand word pictures, listen to car advertisers. It is game changing for how to do that. And I think that that's really important. So when I look at, you know, this tagline of outside the ordinary, I think I got that right? Outside the ordinary?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, outside the ordinary. You know, I would look at what the people that are interested in this program are really about. And I would just write all the marketing language, all the imagery, all of that to appeal to them. Now, with a college degree, there's two consumers that you're actually marketing to, okay? This is the advanced stuff, all right? So with the marketing language, let's say in a brochure, on a website, all of that, there's two decision makers, at least, in every student's decision if they are under the age of 25. Who is it? Who are the two people? The student and their parents.
Parent. Yep.
The parents. Man, you have to actually make it safe for the parents to send their kids to college, right? And so if you're going to attract people from, say, a city to go to this data analytics course or business analytics course, man, it's hard to get much safer than Alfred. For anybody who hasn't been to Alfred, it's my hometown. I grew up literally across the street from the tennis court at McLean Center. So you know where the lacrosse field and the football field are? Yeah, like 109 North Main is the house that I grew up in, okay? So the whole town has about, I think when I was there, about 4,000 people in it, right? But it's got 3 universities, some world-class touring bands come through, you know, you've got Broadway companies, very accessible from New York City, right? It is a massively different experience from somebody who's in New York City as a high schooler to go to upstate New York in this little town in the middle of the valley where the leaves all change colors in the fall, right? But it's very safe for parents as a place to send their students. You know, so I would actually play that up. Like, this is, if you want to have the springboard in the future, this is where you come to build relationship and to build community, to springboard yourself further, faster in the graduation process, right? And to get that solid foundation and to enjoy the community that's possible and available, right? Because that's something that people in cities don't really have the same way. I live in Los Angeles now. I can tell you it's very different, right? So I would actually use that. So this tagline, outside the ordinary, the tagline is one thing, but the everything else under it is actually more important.
Amy, it's interesting you mentioned that. Our other class ran a survey with 355 students of what is important to the students, and what in the top 10 was safety. So you really hit on a big one. And that wasn't just, I mean, that was the students. So, you know, parents are going to be rating that even higher. So that's a really good point.
Yeah. And actually the person who asked that question said, I actually just bought a Cadillac. Thank you. That's very helpful. Off to the next class. Please connect via LinkedIn. Okay. So there's, you know, it worked. Their marketing campaign is shifting their market perception, because they fell behind the 8 ball on it. They fell behind the curve on it. So let's see, there's another question. I think this might be directed towards Dave. What made him go from a science background to financial planning, and did it help him with advising investors? Does he usually stick with scientific creations, and does this help him market them? Dave, I think this is directed to you. I have a little sliver of insight into this because I know a lot about your background. Let me see if I can address it. So Dave has never really switched over from a science background. He still invests in tech products, technologies, green technology, solar, etc. That's where his interests are. So one thing that we didn't talk about is when you pitch to investors, they have categories that they like, right? So if you try and pitch a tech product to somebody who invests in, you know, pet things, it's like, what? They don't get it. If you pitch consumer products to somebody who only invests in online digital technology platforms, they're not going to really invest in what you're doing, but they might know somebody for you. So it's a little different. So Jeff, or David, what helped you pivot kind of from the things that you were doing around IP and everything else with JPL to now what you're doing? What helped you with that?
To do financial analysis?
Yeah, the analysis of deals and Dave used to be the IP guy and tech transfer guy for a couple different organizations.
Yep, for NASA JPL in Pasadena. Yeah. And so I don't know, you know, this is the thing I love about business is you could just go like in any direction, whatever fascinates you. Like say like if you were interested in, you know, Cadillacs, you could find somebody that's making something like really awesome for Cadillacs. It's just like so much, it's so flexible, you know. Business is like tremendously flexible, and you could just, so I've always kind of like I was saying before, just like, you know, whatever fascinates me, you know, then like Amy, you know, whatever you're passionate about, that's what you're going to succeed at.
Yeah.
You know, and if you could keep passion, that's like a life well lived to me. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I love that. So everyone, I know we've got some students that are going to classes and that need to take off. So I really appreciate all of you being here and making this way more fun than just doing a straight recording for you. So Shelly, is there anything you want to recap or anything we need to say at the end?
I just appreciate your time, your energy, and some additional great pointers that you expanded on from the class. I really loved it. So, and Post-it notes are our best friend for creativity.
Post-it notes and markers.
And markers, colorful markers.
I have like boxes of markers, and you can see like my markers.
There you go.
And the Slinky.
And Slinky.
And my Slinky, yeah. These are just my dry erase markers. I have other markers for other things.
See, I'm thinking of a product right now, a creativity package. Slinky, Post-its, markers. There you go.
Yeah. And
so
I
awesome.
think anything you can do to like let yourself productively fidget while you're pondering something just kind of helps.
Sure.
You know?
No,
I was thinking. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Dave.
I thought you were using the Slinky to balance an idea, like right brain, left brain. But that was completely off.
That could be it. The other thing I'll do is I have a mini trampoline, and I'll go out and I'll jump on the mini trampoline for a few minutes, like if I've kind of stuck on something. You know, Einstein used to play violin, and he would ponder in the dark, right? He meditated, he'd ponder, he'd wait for the idea to come. I had the great joy of seeing an exhibit of Thomas Edison's light bulb samples a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
Which was fabulous to see his actual handwriting, actual samples from some of his well over 1,000 experiments about what makes a light bulb work and what makes it not work. And his quote about this was so perfect for creativity and a great way to wrap this up. And that was that he didn't fail that many times. He discovered, I think it was 1,200 some ways to not make a light bulb.
Not to do it. Yep.
Right. So I just want to leave everybody with that. And I'm happy to have a discovery conversation if you have a project that you want some input on. Listen to the podcast. I will probably drop a few things over there as extra resources. For any of you that are business owners, just know that I so admire the commitment, the skills, the energy, and the wherewithal that you're having to get through the time that we're in. And you know, we had to make some decisions too, and you have everything you need to come through on this, not just surviving it, but actually thriving because of it. Okay. And that would be my biggest dream and hope for everybody. We will be doing a multi-speaker summit specifically for products and for product businesses coming up in just the next 2 weeks or so. We had planned on doing it to launch at the end of March. And yeah, that was not gonna work with the way everything went down. So watch your emails. If you're on our email list, you'll get a notice about it. And if you're not on our list and you want to get on our list, feel free to join that. Go over to our website. You can sign up for the live Q&As that we occasionally do. And I'm actually going to be doing probably a weekly webinar for the next few weeks. So watch for those. And, oh, I see we have Joe Robbins from Texas who popped in. Hey, Joe. And you know what? Shelly, you are getting big love and big shout out from Jeff Chambers and some of the other people
Great.
for Alfred University graciously opening this up. We really appreciate that.
Well, this is wonderful. Hopefully we can do more.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
And to all the students, congratulations on graduating next month. Go like do amazing stuff on your project. So, anything else? I think we're good. Right. Shelly, I'll send you the recording probably tomorrow, okay?
Very good. Thanks so much. And I have a bunch of students that have been asking about reaching out to you. Do you think LinkedIn is probably the best way?
LinkedIn is really good. And then on the live Q&As that we do, if they want to, join those are free. They're open to the public. They're available for everybody. It would help me tremendously if y'all share them out. You can send an email to info@products, PRODUCTS, which is TO, profits, PROFITS.com. And my team will take care of getting you connected to those. And if anybody needs more information, please go check out the podcast. We have a ton of content and tips in there. So, and it's available on pretty much every podcast platform known to man. It's called the Product Business Show. Okay, well, bye for now, everyone. And oh, one more thing. If you want to connect and you have a product, we have a Facebook group called Product Entrepreneurs. I know a few of you are in that group. So just go to Facebook, search for Product Entrepreneurs, and we will get you connected in that group. You have to answer a couple questions to join it, but it's a fun group. And I promise that is all. So with that, everyone, have a good rest of your day. Go play.
I think I'm going to go buy a Slinky. Get on Amazon.
I know, right? There must be a Slinky around here. Thank you.
Take care.
I'll see you all another time. Bye for now.
Thanks. Thanks, Amy.